Deshaun Watson returned to practice for the Cleveland Browns on Thursday. What's his status for this week? When can we expect to see him? Still to be determined, but I'll have my thoughts on that. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, and the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. Keep joining the everyday crowd, and of course, the best way to do that is subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel, and of course, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. First off, just want to thank everybody. Obviously, the understanding, went through a move. The new place is just not suitable just yet. It will be shortly. The new studio is fantastic. The Wi-Fi is not yet, so we're kind of on location here, but we should be up and running within the next week. We are back. Everything will be normal as it was, and of course, as you guys know, I have kids. I had to make sure that they were, as we put them, through a move here, I had to make sure that we had them set up for success, basically for them school-wise and all of that stuff. But I do appreciate everybody who understands the changes that have been going on here. Today's episode of Locked On Browns is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first-time deposit match up to $100. So here we are, obviously. Deshaun Watson returned back to the practice field for the Cleveland Browns on Thursday. Lots of varying, and of course, what exactly this means. And look, the Browns anxious to get their signal caller back. 2 games Deshaun Watson has not been able to go. The Cleveland Browns are currently 1-1 in those games. Baltimore Raven game, I'll be honest, the way that game was looking, it was Browns' worst defensive performance of the year to this point. Not sure if that would have made a difference. As we all know, and we learned from this past Sunday, the San Francisco 49ers, very similar to the Browns that day versus the Ravens. Some days you just ain't got it. So the Browns just didn't have it that day. You come back on Sunday, again, just an incredible day. Guys, I was driving around in a moving van all day, streaming it. I mean, a game that I never thought was going to be close, ended up being close in the ultimate victory. Just, and then, of course, so I had to scramble, didn't have the time, but had to make the time, of course, to get you guys a post-game show as quick as I possibly could. Just a tremendous day. And now you get Deshaun, obviously no practice for Deshaun Watson on Wednesday, back to the practice field here on Thursday. You have to keep in mind, I do believe it is September 24th since the last time we have seen, Deshaun Watson, available as far as practice. And all the questions of, when does the return come? From the footage, we all got to see today. Basically, what I'm taking from that is I'm taking it from that this is basically kind of a rehab process. This is a throwing process for Deshaun Watson as he is, kind of amping his way back. What was the big thing we had heard, the entire time, when we didn't see him throw, if he was throwing, whatever it was always, he doesn't seem like he's able to rip it yet. Well, any of the footage we saw today, and granted, this is all done before they kick the media out and they get to true practice, there was no evidence of Deshaun Watson ripping any balls today. Obviously, a lot of air under things, a lot of short throws, a lot of just touch accuracy. And here it is now. It is obviously October 19th. So it's almost a month since Deshaun Watson has actually physically practiced. Could he possibly go on Sunday? Yes, he could. Do I think there's any likelihood that he's going to go on Sunday? Probably not, because you think if he did just start throwing again today, and we don't know what degree he had been throwing here the last couple of weeks, but if he did start throwing today, obviously he comes in tomorrow. First thing that is, where are you at? Where's the soreness? Are you tight? All of these things are going to be questions that are going to be asked. If he checks out, then the next phase would be, all right, well, let's throw again here today on Friday. But now it's Friday. It's already Friday. I mean, the Browns are, basically Friday's a walkthrough. Wednesday, Thursday is when all the real work gets done as far as being ready for your game, with the Indianapolis Colts here on Sunday. So my guess is you're not going to just amp him up, on Friday and, try to make sure that he's got the entire game plan. I'm not saying he's missing meetings. I'm not saying he wouldn't be prepared. But I think the thought process here for the Cleveland Browns is to, get this work in, obviously, then he would throw again Sunday, obviously, pregame, do some work then. And then hopefully the game plan would be on Wednesday for Deshaun Watson to return to practice fully, with the thought process of being able to return a week from Sunday in Seattle against the Seahawks. The Colts, now where the Colts are at as far as this in this particular game here with the Browns, this is a team that's really in a difficult transition. Gardner Minshew, would be their quarterback for the rest of the season if he can show worthy of it. Obviously, this is a team that had all the hopes in the world for Anthony Richardson being their signal caller this year. Anthony Richardson, and many agreed that the best option for him was to have surgery, which is going to be season-ending surgery. So, and a very exciting player in the NFL, a very exciting player, and a guy the Indianapolis Colts have a lot of hopes and dreams for, as bringing them back to being contenders in the AFC South. Going to have to wait a year on this. So even that probably makes the decision easier to probably not play Deshaun on Sunday. And look, again, I'm not saying one way or the other what I think is going to happen, or what's going to happen. I'm going to say what I think is going to happen. I think this is kind of like a spring training, getting Deshaun back acclimated, with the thought process of bringing him back against the Seattle Seahawks. PJ Walker, if you were good enough and did, and not spectacular against the 49ers, did make some nice throws. And the first thing I would say is, just start throwing some more longer balls, because it seems to be something that suits PJ Walker better. The underneath stuff, not so great. He was good in the screen game. He was good in the deep balls. So if he's going to play this Sunday, that's pretty much your game plan as far as throwing the football. We'll get to thoughts on other things here in segment 2, segment 3, of course. But the way the Cleveland Browns defense is playing right now, the way the offense is playing, even if it's PJ Walker, this should be enough. I know you're playing in Indianapolis. This is, we're not talking about a building that is this huge, obvious, basically home field advantage. It's not a really, really difficult place to play if you're a road team. I think the best and smartest thing to do, and Joe Torre used to be this guy in all his years of managing the New York Yankees, is when guys said, hey, I'm ready to go, I'm good to go today. And Joe Torre would say, no problem. Perfect. All right. Sit next to me all game and you'll be in the lineup tomorrow. There's no such thing as being too sure. So even if Deshaun Watson woke up Sunday morning and said, man, I am ready to go, I think the Cleveland Browns, and the best approach for them is to probably say, hey, we're going to hold off here. We are going to start you next week in Seattle. Just continue to do what you've done. Aid the quarterbacks, help the quarterbacks, put the headset on, be any assistance you can. The Cleveland Browns should be able to beat the Indianapolis Colts regardless of who plays quarterback for them. This defense is the best defense in the NFL right now. The running game, and again, we're going to get to that here, seems to have had a really, really good week. Obviously, against the Indianapolis Colts, you get a big advantage with Grover Stewart being suspended for 6 games for PEDs, one of the best run defenders the Indianapolis Colts have on their roster. So Deshaun, yes, he's back at practice. Yes, he's throwing the football a little bit. But in my opinion, the best option right now is to have Deshaun Watson trending for a Week 8 start against, obviously, on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. This is Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. We'll get back here in a sec, talk a little bit Browns running game and the Browns offense the last 2 weeks with DTR, and of course on Sunday with PJ Walker. The Jase case is a personalized emergency medicine kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can also customize your case and add additional life-saving medications based on your unique needs. Jase Medical now offers customability for your Jase case with dozens of add-on medications. You choose the medications that best fit you and your family's unique needs. A couple of weeks ago, Saturday night, all of a sudden my face swelled up. I probably had an abscess going on. What would have been huge? A Jase case. When we go away, you can bank one of the kids is always going to get sick. A Jase case would have been huge in a situation, obviously, like that. The Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jase case is to fill out a simple online form and, in some cases, jump on a quick call with one of our onboard certified physicians. Get ongoing care from our physicians on any treatment-related questions. Doctor created, doctor recommended. Don't get caught unprepared. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jase handles everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Go to Jase Medical and enter the code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at JASE Medical.com. Snap into the action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Continuing on here, your latest Locked On Browns. And as always, I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. And keep subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube page. Join that everyday crowd. I appreciate you all, of course. And of course, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. The Browns running game. And obviously, notwithstanding, once Nick Chubb went down to the Pittsburgh Steelers game, Jerome Ford had that 69-yard run, which obviously skewed the stats the following games. After that, of course, the Browns didn't run great against the Tennessee Titans. They didn't really run at all against the Baltimore Ravens. But to go against the San Francisco 49ers defense and get that running game on track was just absolutely crucial. Jerome Ford, 17 carries, 84 yards. And I know a lot of people were wondering or maybe hoping, and maybe it's reminiscing, or it's the fact that Kareem Hunt has always been such a big, loved guy in the Cleveland area, certainly by his time here with the Cleveland Browns. This is a Jerome Ford position. I'm not saying don't institute Kareem Hunt. I'm not saying don't use Kareem Hunt. And there may be an opportunity here for Kareem Hunt to get a little bit more involved in the passing game. But your best bet right now is Jerome Ford. And I'm going to keep saying maybe Pierre Strong, but that's another story for another day. But getting the running game back on track. And keep in mind, you did it this past Sunday. Joel Bitonio out. Your Joel Bitonio update obviously was back at practice in some capacity on Wednesday, off today, but it sounds like the Browns had that figured. He was going to basically go one day on, one day off. So my guess is he participates in the walkthrough on Friday. Obviously Saturday, there'll be the travel day, and all hopes are that, Joel Bitonio wakes up Sunday and deems himself ready to go. And hopefully that is the case, because Michael Dunn, who replaced him, obviously, and started in his place, of course, against San Francisco 49ers, and played well. But he did finish the game, but he was so banged up. Michael Dunn's out for 4 weeks on IR. So that's obviously a tough blow here. You obviously think that IR move means that PJ Walker comes up to the 53-man roster, and the Browns will continue to play the roster gymnastics, over here for the next couple of weeks. So with, the reemergence of the running game and getting that back on track. And we all know that this was supposed to be the year where, basically the Browns transitioned to being a throw first team, obviously on the shoulder of, no pun intended, of course, of Deshaun Watson, as, this team tried to, put him back on the map as being one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. But in this league, there's no question about it. You have to be able to run the ball. You have to be able to run the ball in crucial situations. You have to be able to run a 4-minute offense. You've got to be able to pick up, 3rd and 2s. You've got to be able to pick up, 1st and goal from the 3. And so being able to get this back going. And Jerome Ford, I'm sure Jerome Ford was talked to at halftime of the San Francisco 49er game and said, look, man, you're trying to do too much. Just run the play the way it is called, the way it is written. And all of a sudden, Jerome Ford in that second half, you saw the change. You saw him just hit the hole 100 miles an hour, the way he had been coached ever since he probably played peewee ball. And there was a big, big difference. And when you're running full speed and you're not dancing, guess what? The ability to break tackles increases. And you saw that from Jerome, of course. Kareem, the touchdown play for Kareem Hunt was just fantastic. Obviously, all eyes looking for the, tush push or whatever with Harrison Bryant, who's done it a couple of times. And great call from Coach Stefanski to get a little bit different. And Coach has been good in this. And if you remember last year, all the QB sneaks that they ran, and even when Deshaun was back, there was, I think it was the Raven game, or I think it was the Washington game where Jacoby Brissett was all set up. We thought we were going to see another QB sneak. And next thing you know, it was all of a sudden it was play action. He went yard. The play did not work, of course. The play was open. The play was there to be had. So, as much as people want to get on Coach Stefanski, and that's got to stop, man. This guy, the creativity is there. Everybody seems to forget about the 2 screens to David Njoku that got called back by penalty on Sunday. The creativity is there. The ability to get the ball in his playmakers' hands is there. Coach is coaching really well this year. I know you're all caught up in some things from the past and this, that, and the other thing. But I ain't putting any of this on Coach Stefanski right now. Would all of this look even better with Deshaun Watson there? Yeah. probably would be a strong case that all of this would look better with Deshaun Watson under center. But hey, when you don't have your quarterback, you got to do the best you can. And I think that has been the case to this point for Coach Stefanski and for this offense. As far as the question, I know maybe there was a rumor, maybe, it's Donovan Peoples-Jones, maybe a guy that could be traded away. Are there rumors that the Browns are going to bring in a wide receiver? Nothing's going to change here. I'm not saying as far as player personnel, that certainly can happen. But I think one of the biggest assets the Cleveland Browns need to do is, I'm going to keep saying it, is what you got in Amari Cooper. But Elijah Moore has to be utilized more. The fact that we are using Elijah Moore like this true underneath short route running slot receiver, it's just, in my opinion, it is a gross negligence to the talent that Elijah Moore is. Go back. And if you want to look on YouTube and find it, watch the highlights of him going against all them stud wide receivers at the University of Alabama. And I think he went for the tune for about 13 for about 236. Elijah Moore is a great wide receiver. The Browns need to start letting him run the entire route tree. He doesn't need to run these Arena League routes. He doesn't need to run every route 7 yards or less. And once you start exposing him and you get all of the Elijah Moore package, you can then expand upon it. Then you can start handing him the ball more. You can line him up in the backfield because he needs to be an attraction for the defense. The defense needs to be focused on a player like Elijah Moore if they want to get the whole Elijah Moore experience. David Njoku, and look, it's been an incredible story, obviously, for David. The burning that he suffered the Friday night before the Ravens game, goes out there, plays his tail off. The healing, getting back, being able to play Sunday, and actually had, obviously one of those two plays I was referencing, we did go for a touchdown. So you talk about David Njoku probably would have had about a 5 for about a 70-yard day against the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. You got to keep working 85 as well. Look, there are too many talented players that can contribute as receivers for this team. The Browns got to find a way to keep them all involved. Amari Cooper, I believe it's like 75 for 1250. That's the pace he's at right now. Loved him today about his reaction, where basically they said his catch was one of the most difficult catches made by a player this year. He was just kind of like, my job is to catch the ball, Definitely got that Nick Chubb mentality to him. Very, very humble in the way he does things. But Amari Cooper still just taking dues to school here. 7th, 8th year in the NFL. Dallas Cowboys, couldn't really keep the contract. Browns jumped in, 5th round pick. And the Browns got themselves a bona fide number 1 wide receiver who most likely is going to have 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons, things that I have never seen in my time covering this team. And even if it is, and most likely will be, PJ Walker this week, there's an easy game plan here. I think he got more faith in running the ball as long as Joel Bitonio comes back, because if you don't, I don't know who's playing left guard. Is it Nick Harris? Is it James Hudson? I got to be honest, I have no idea who'll be the left guard if Joel Bitonio is not ready to go on Sunday. So that certainly gives me some pause and hesitation. But you got to mix this run game. You got to let PJ Walker just be who he is. And I think PJ Walker, even though he's a smaller quarterback, he's an athletic quarterback, he's got a strong arm. Yeah, I think he has a stronger arm than he has more of an accurate arm. So play on that and let PJ Walker do his thing. We're going to get a little bit here about the defense to close it out here. How sustainable is this level of play? And we're going to dip into that a little bit. And obviously guys who have been really, really good for this defense up until this point. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. I appreciate everybody for sticking along for the ride. PrizePicks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the most fun I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and you place your entry. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can look at some of the lines here. Gardner Minshew, do I think he's going to have a day against the Browns? No. I will definitely take an under there. Amari Cooper, I will take an over. Jerome Ford, I will take an over. The Cleveland Browns should come into this game riding the confidence level high. So if you're going to put some money down, factor that into your equation and go low on Colts, go over on Browns. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Did the game just go to timeout? Well, it's time to order in with DoorDash. Is it halftime? That's ordering time. 2-minute warning. You got it. That's your cue to order in. Why root for your team on an empty stomach? Order on DoorDash and save on football and watch party favorites. You can get pizza, wings, soda, burgers, or even just buns on DoorDash and get it all delivered without missing the game. You need chips, you need dips, nachos, anything like that. You need to make your own nachos on DoorDash and get it all delivered without missing the game or a second of the action. All of your favorite restaurants and stores from retail to grocery are on the app, so you can shop everything you need to get game day ready. Get prepared for game day. Stock up on your favorite appetizers and order all your tailgate food on DoorDash. Then get ready to watch your team win. Get 50% up to $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code LOCKED23. That's 50% off up to $10 when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter LOCKED23. Don't forget to use LOCKED23 for 50% off up to $10 value on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and spend $15 or more. Closing out here, your latest Locked On Browns. As always, appreciate you all for making the show your first listen. Let's get that everyday crowd higher and higher by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Of course, the show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. I don't know if anybody caught it, but obviously last night, the NFL Network reran the game. So it was nice for me. Obviously, like I told you, I was sitting, basically in a moving van all day long, trying to watch every drop of it I could. So I basically got to have the full fan experience last night, watching the game, basically the broadcast version of it. And the defense. And, look, we've been crammed down our throats with watching San Francisco 49ers games, all the nationally televised games here, and seeing what this offense was like all season long. And, I know there's been a lot of talk, the Niners were down players. Like, shut up, man. I mean, does everybody know how many players the Browns were down in that game? Oh, McCaffrey didn't finish. Debo didn't finish. Well, no, sorry. I don't want to hear it. And even when those guys are in there, other than that first drive, Jim Schwartz, this Browns defense had every number that the 49ers had coming their way. Brock Purdy was the first time Brock Purdy looked like a guy who was a Mr. Irrelevant draft choice. Definitely just took a step back. The Browns were ahead of what the San Francisco 49ers were doing all day. The question becomes, is this sustainable? Are the Cleveland Browns going to be legitimately a contender to finish as the number one overall defense in the NFL in 2023? If they do, I hope Jim Schwartz is grooming his successor, because there's a good chance Jim Schwartz might be out of here. But if that means that I get to see the Browns have a number one defense in 2023, guys, that's something all we're just going to have to accept. So you continue with what's been going on in this defensive line. And there was a lot that you saw. Obviously the Browns put a lot of it out. Ogbo was obviously, Okoronkwo was mic'd for the game. So you got to see a lot of that action. He was just absolutely geeked up. Fun player, fun personality. But you got to see, Dalvin Tomlinson on the sidelines joking with Myles Garrett. And these guys have so much fun. And Myles is a guy that normally lets loose. And you can see that these guys are probably just more off the cuff and just more and more laid back and enjoying every moment than even Myles, who's been waiting his entire career to have players like this of his ilk to be a part of this defensive line with him. And he's just looking over at these guys like, man, they're all crazy. And he's probably right. But I do believe that I don't see any reason this is going to wane. We all talked about this first 5-game stretch for the Browns, how difficult these games were going to be. The Bengals, obviously, Steelers, the Ravens, all the division opponents, the San Francisco 49ers. But now it starts to lighten up here. You're going to face the Colts with a backup quarterback. Seattle's not a bad team. Who knows who's going to be quarterbacking for the Arizona Cardinals? The Houston, you got some really, really lesser teams coming up on this schedule. So it's hard to believe that these lesser teams with lesser talent all of a sudden are going to have an answer or are going to be able to do something here that's going to basically slow down this team. I just don't see how it's going to happen. I just don't see how it's going to work out. It's just not something I can fathom right now. So whether or not the Browns can continue at this pace, look, you have Ward, you have Emerson and Greg Newsome, all are playing lights out. Your safeties, Grant Delpit is having the best season of his career. Juan Thornhill looks everything like the player the Browns thought they were getting. The Rodney McLeod signing does not get the credit it deserves. When you can bring in a third safety who's got and if you notice, Rodney McLeod, the Browns are playing 3 safeties on the field a lot. And why? Because they're very, very intelligent defensive backs. And Jim Schwartz knows he can put them out there. He has confidence in them. So this way, obviously, when the offense either motions or shifts, if that means one safety's got to walk back from the line and the other safety on the other side's got to walk up to the line, Jim Schwartz is kind of playing these guys like they're interchangeable. And, if the play shifts, that's fine. The assignments just shift. Okay, all right, now I'm the guy that drops. He's the guy's up. And you see the way it's working, and it's really, really working well. The McLeod signing is something that really, really has gone under the radar here. I think there's so many big names were brought in that McLeod is maybe somebody that's just kind of not getting the due he deserves. He was a Colt last year, but obviously a lot of things have changed for the Colts. I don't know what Rodney McLeod can bring. Obviously, it's a lot of different personnel. It's a lot of different coaching staff. So I'm not sure what Rodney's going to bring as far as assistance of being a former Colt. But this defense is off the hook right now. JOK has been fantastic. You're finally starting to see exactly what the vision was from Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski when they drafted him out of Notre Dame. Just getting an elite athlete, a guy who is physical, a guy who is tough, and just finding a way for him to say, just get the ball. Just find the guy with the ball and make the play. And JOK is playing, obviously, again, as another guy who is playing the best football of his career to this point here with the Cleveland Browns. And it's been great to see for these kids because they've always put in the work. They've always put in the effort. And now they're all starting to reap the benefits. I am Jeff Lloyd. This is now 7th season here, hosting Lock On Browns with you all. It's been a fun ride sitting at 3-2 here. As I said on the crossover, the utter disappointment of not getting this one on Sunday against the Colts would be brutal. Just absolutely brutal. This is, it would be worse to lose this game to the Colts than it would have been to actually get than the high of getting the win of beating the 49ers. This is a game they absolutely have to have. We're going to get you a pregame show here. It might be late night Friday. It might be sometime on Saturday because we have to get the, hopefully an official word on Deshaun Watson as to what the Browns' plans are, whether or not the quarterback will be available on Sunday in Indianapolis. As always, appreciate everybody makes me the first listen. Locked On Browns. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page. Keep that everyday party rolling all day, all night, all weekend long. Locked On Browns is always available, always free wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go, Browns.